What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about item storage in Pokemon Go. So this is something that a lot of people are interested in. You might be wondering, well, what do I need to prioritize over a different item? And I just want to go ahead and say this. It's definitely going to depend on what your playstyle actually is, whether you're a person who wants to do a ton of raids, a ton of gym battles, or a person who just wants to catch a lot of Pokemon. You're going to have completely different item storage than each other. So what I'm going to do is just walk through all of my items, talk a little bit about that, and then try to give you some general strategies. Your strategy may not line up with mine, but once again, I'm going to try to provide as much value as possible to you so that you can figure out exactly what you want to do. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the episode. I'm basically just going to be going line by line talking about the different items so that we can basically have a strategy for this. So the first thing is going to be in relation to potions. As you will see, my potion number, super potion, and maybe even hyper potion is significantly lower than my max potion. Basically, what's been happening with that is I haven't been able to do as many gym battles as I normally do. But just as a general strategy, what I tend to do is actually not use the potions at all. So I'll just delete all of the potions. I mean, maybe if I have one on me just from like a different stop or something, it can be very helpful if you just have to heal a little bit, but I think it takes a little bit too much time to heal. So it's actually going to be the same concept with super potions as well. So for the most part, I actually only hold on to hyper potions and max potions. So let's go ahead and move on to the revives. So for the revives, if you're a person who does a ton of raids, you will know that you get a ton of revives from it. But also with the addition of the friendship feature, I was able to stack up on some max revives. And that's something that I hadn't really had in the past, but there has been a nerf to the friendship system as far as the drops go, so it is something that I haven't basically gotten down on. But for the most part, I tried to hold at least 50 revives or so, and then maybe even 50 max revives, so in total around 100. Just in case you end up going and doing a ton of raids, you want to have as much as possible. So in this case, I'm actually not going to delete any. I am a little bit higher up on the max revive, so that just means that I just need to go in and start using that instead of just the normal revives. But as usual, if you are trying to do solo strategies or dual strategies, max revives are going to be so much faster than reviving and then using a super potion. So moving on from that, honestly, something that I need to be using a little bit more is going to be the incense. I don't necessarily want to trash them, because that's just basically giving away value. Same thing with the lucky eggs, but I try to only use them in situations where it tends to make sense. Maybe I need to get a new Pokemon, or maybe I need to do a mass evolution session. Maybe I need to, do a ton of raids at once. Then I'll make sure that I use the lucky egg. But I'm definitely not going to throw these types of things away. Moving on is going to be fast TMs and charge TMs. I've been holding on to the fast TMs, but that's not really for a good reason necessarily. Basically, I just have gotten very good movesets, and I've gotten all of the Pokemon that I need. So basically, I have the fast TMs where they need to be in the game. So I'm not really, honestly, using too many of them. Am I going to trash them? No, probably not. Especially for the fact that I'm not exactly maxed out on space. Maybe if I got maxed out, it would end up being a different situation. Charge TMs. That's going to be something that I definitely want to make sure I have at least 5 of. I try not to go below that. Basically, when a new Pokemon comes out, if it's actually going to be battle worthy from an attacking perspective, I will use it. But I'm not going to use it on just some random Pokemon just to give it its ideal moveset when it's not going to be that great of a battler. So rare candy, this is going to be something a little bit different than what most people might do. Since I don't get to raid as much, what I typically do with my rare candy is I like to invest it into something that I know I am going to power up. For example, I would say that Raikou would be a good option for me right now. I roughly have around 25 candies or so. So basically putting in a couple more is going to be something that I am 100% positive that I will use. But beyond that, some people want to hold on to rare candies. And hey, I don't blame you. Especially if you're trying to wait for a new generation, you're short on candy, you want to be able to evolve them as much as possible. But we really have to distinguish the difference between a YouTuber and a just regular player, because for YouTubers, it may make more sense for them to try to get that brand new Pokemon, power it up, have the candy for it just to make a video on it. but I'm trying to give you at least both sides of the coin. Let's go ahead and move on to raid passes. Basically, in this case, for the premium raid pass, I just have a lot from Chicago Fest 2017 because they reimburse us with $100, so I basically just bought nothing but a bunch of premium raid passes. I'm starting to dwindle down a little bit, but I definitely try to use my regular raid passes. Of course, you can't even throw them away anyway, so I don't know if that's going to count too much as item management. So here's something pretty cool. We do have a little bit of an update to the gift system. Finally, you are able to trash it if you want. This is something that actually was not available previously on the launch of the friendship system. Of course, it only takes up 10 slots, so it's not going to be too big of a deal. So we're basically getting down to the final two topics. The first one is going to be just the Pokeball system in general. With the friendship system being added in, there is just a whole new resource related to Pokeballs. This is something specifically related to Ultra Balls. As you will see, I was almost up to 300 Ultra Balls, but at one point I actually was up at around 500 or so. So this is something that is a little bit unfortunate for me. For this case, if you are a person who goes out and catches a ton of Pokemon, you have something like a Go Plus or a Gacha, you are wanting to keep your Pokeball count high. For myself, I unfortunately don't get to go out and do a lot of like bulk sessions, so I don't keep this as high as I possibly should. But if we're talking about a priority, I would honestly argue that having Pokeballs ready is the most important to me, and it's unfortunate that I don't have as much, but there's just not as many Pokestops around me. So for all of you who have been sending me gifts through the friend system, I definitely want to say thank you to you because it has opened up a completely new source to Great Balls and Ultra Balls, and something that has been extremely beneficial for me. When we scroll down, we're going to go ahead and get into basically the berry system. Which one should you prioritize? So for myself, I don't keep any of the just regular raspberries, and I don't keep any of the nanab berries. I really only keep pineapple and golden raz. And for the golden raz, I basically ran into a recent situation where I just ended up with way too many of them. I was almost at 300 at one point, but because I was able to catch most of the Pokemon by just throwing excellence, I just tended to not use as many as I was getting. So at that point, I just basically had to decide, okay, I need to go ahead and keep this under control. I'm getting way too many of them, more than I can actually use, especially when you get 7 balls to throw and you're getting, 10, 12, 14 berries. You can't keep up with that. So what I would recommend is to probably keep that below 100 just as a general term. So for pineapple berries, that's going to be a little bit of an opposite thing. For me, having pineapple berries is going to be very helpful to get a new Pokemon when Generation 4 comes out. So what I've been doing is I've been stacking up on pineapple berries and trying to only use them on really rare Pokemon, really powerful Pokemon, and then potentially for Generation 4 to just basically prep up for that. So let's go ahead and move down to the different evolution items. This is going to be a little bit of a hot topic. Some people say that there's really no point in having any of them, and I can honestly agree with you for the most part. There are a couple of Pokemon that are actually good, so what I tend to do with this is no matter what, I will not have above 5 unless it is a metal coat. So for instance, we have too many for the King's Rock. We've got it down to 5. The reason why I have so many for Metal Coat is basically just because of Scizor. That's really the only reason why I have it, because it is such a good bug type attacker. I definitely want to keep enough on hand in case I get a very high IV Scyther that's also a high level. I could transition it. The rest of them for the most part have been Pokédex entries. The upgrade will be interesting because of Porygon Z in Generation 4, so I'm definitely going to make sure that I hold on to that. But like I said, I'm not going to go above 5 unless it's a metal coat. That way I can limit the amount of space that they take up. But who knows, if we end up getting more evolution items in the future, this could be something that I definitely need to address. But anyways, I hope this did help you. I hope that it brought a new light to just kind of whatever's going on with you for the item management. Hopefully it did bring up some ideas. My best piece of advice is to know what your strategy is and to try to optimize it. You don't want to be a person who wants to raid a ton and then get rid of all of your potions, all of your revives. At the other hand, you don't want to be a person who wants to catch a ton of Pokemon, have a lot of Pokeballs on hand, and then you end up being low in that but then high in something else. Anyways, I hope you did enjoy it, and I will see you next time.
Hit me like a tidal wave. She's the body after shot.